Hey everybody, it's Mike Jeffers, ChicagoJazz.com, and this is episode 99. Yes, I said it, 99. 100 is next. I'm going to be here talking with Paul Marinaro. He's got a gig coming up on Monday, April 2nd at the Green Mill, and I don't know, I don't think there's anything else going on, so maybe that's all we're going to talk about. So, I don't know. Stick around. We are back here live at Johnny O's, episode 99. Paul, can you believe that I've been in a hot dog stand doing episodes every week for 99 episodes?
I had no idea, Mike.
It's probably good that way.
I didn't know you were here.
You didn't know I was here. He was wandering around outside. He's like, there's no way Mike Jeffers could be inside of a hot dog stand.
I didn't know where it was.
Yeah.
When I watched, it was this mysterious place.
It is a mysterious place, though. In episode 100, we're going to take you on a tour of Johnny O's. And as Paul knows, after I told him and showed him the history, it's an interesting history, interesting place, and it's a very hip spot to talk jazz. Plus, it's very close to where I live, so good call. On to you, Paul.
Yes.
You're stopping by. You've got this gig coming up on Monday, April 2nd at the Green Mill. Of course, anybody that's been watching social media, reading the Tribune, seeing different things, there's been a few things going on in your life, but, probably nothing major. So why don't we just specifically talk about... I'm just kidding. All right, so first, let's get the plug in right off the bat, and then we'll get into the other stuff. April 2nd, Monday night, you're going to be back. This is actually the first show that you're back after your health situation, right? That it's you specifically as your group on Monday at the Green Mill.
Yeah, the whole health thing is a nice way to spin it. I just wanted to take a little break.
Yeah.
And I thought that would be a good way to do it. And
absolutely.
No, this is my first full gig here in Chicago. Back at the mic since I had surgery right before Christmas. I think the 22nd. So this is the first one where I'm going to do a whole night, and I think it'll be a lot of fun because I'm surrounded by a great band, and everybody's a good friend, and we're just going to keep it loose and fun, and what better place than the Green Mill?
That's right. And I mean, Dave Gemolo, obviously the owner of the Green Mill, brought it up. He's actually nice enough that he's going to do a little bit of contribution back to you at the door. So anybody coming in, the door is going back to Paul to help with some of his medical bills and things that he's incurred. And we're going to talk a little bit about what happened to you. But before we get off the Green Mill, it starts at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
On Monday night right there in Uptown. And let me just mention the band. I mean, it's a killer band. Jeremy Kahn, John Dietemeyer, Larry Kohut, Mike Alamana, Eric Schneider, who has been on this show way too often these days. Eric Schneider, we still love you. Russ Phillips, Victor Garcia, and then, of course, special vocalist guests, people that you've done many shows with, the great Rose Colella and Alyssa Allgood. So you have got an all-star lineup happening on Monday at the Mill. So that's exciting stuff. We're going to link it up below. I would suggest everyone, as I'm sure you're going to suggest, get there early, because the mill fills up and you can't get in, and there's going to be a line for this because this is something that's going to be very special and a very cool event. Monday, April 2nd.
Absolutely.
All right, so now let's talk a little bit about background stuff for those people that don't know all the ins and outs. So I get this Facebook post and I'm like enjoying my holiday cheer and season. All of a sudden, Paul Marinaro is like on his deathbed. So what happened?
Well, some of those pictures were posted by me under the influence of a lot of drugs, so I apologize for some of the more graphic pictures.
Yeah, from your hospital bed. We were talking before. You didn't even realize you were posting.
Tubes going in and out of everywhere, and I didn't know I did that. I blamed several friends, and none of whom have access to my Facebook account, so apparently it was me.
Well, at least you can continue to work social media while you're on your deathbed.
Well, that's what they laughed. They said you literally woke up from like a fog, grabbed your phone and took a couple selfies of yourself and then passed back out, and later it appeared on Facebook. So
it's always marketing is always on your mind. It's very
exactly.
Good. It's very good.
It's free publicity.
So this was an illness that you've had over the years, right? That just got to a head there.
Yeah, I basically have dealt with it's diverticulitis.
Okay.
Is what I had. And I've dealt with it for years, even late teenage years, but I would have maybe about once or twice a year, then nothing maybe for a whole year.
Yeah.
In the last couple years, the last 10 years, it's definitely reared its head quite a bit. The last couple years, it went from being something every other month to just about every week.
Whoa.
Sometimes one bout would go into the other. And I just, super jazzy, as Andy Brown would say, but I would just deal with it because I didn't want to, when you build momentum, any sort of momentum in this career, in this business, you don't want to pause for anything. You just want to keep going, which is probably why I was still posting on
Yeah,
Facebook.
you keep going, baby, keep
On my
going.
deathbed.
You're like a football player in full concussion
You
mode.
don't want
You
to
don't even know
stop.
what's going on. Yeah.
Feel the pain later. But looking back now, I think there were so many performances that I kind of pushed through and ignored a lot of
Big
painful-
warning signs.
Yeah,
probably,
a lot of
right?
big warning signs. So unfortunately, you get used to them, and very few times over the years that I actually went to the hospital when I was having some of the worst ones. I would just basically hold down at home and sweat it out and get through it.
Jesus.
And there's certain dietary things I would do.
And this is something like almost like you have migraines all the time, then they get worse and worse and worse. This is like obviously 10 times worse, but you got so used to it that
Yeah.
you're just like, all right, just give me 2 days and I'll be back on it. Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened. I did a show at Winters with Rose Colella and Elaine Dame. We did a holiday thing, the three of us together, on December 19th. And wasn't feeling great during it, but no one could tell and no one knew. And right afterward, I couldn't leave the office. I was on the couch and I just thought, something is coming. I don't know what this is, but this isn't good. And I had just, as if somebody had unplugged me. I had no energy.
It was right after the show. You're sitting in the
Right after the show,
Yeah.
and someone joked then said, how many Manhattans did it take to put Paul down tonight? Which I think I had one that night.
Now you know.
Yeah.
You know that couldn't do it. So
No, it wasn't the Manhattans. But the next day it reared its head, and I thought, this is a really bad bout.
yeah.
So against all of the begging and pleading of all my friends and family, I stayed home for, I think it was 3 days at that point. I have very dim recollection of those days.
Yeah, right.
I was basically in bed the whole time. Hour turned into 3 days, and it was very foggy, but basically I had ruptured internally
Jesus.
during that time and went into sepsis. So it's I'm very lucky that I finally woke up and decided.
Did you decide to call? Because I know Rose was
They
around a
had
lot.
pleaded,
Yeah.
and I kept saying, one more day, let's get through this. But when I ended up on my kitchen floor and couldn't move and was blacking out, I called the ambulance myself because I just knew that this is different.
This isn't. I'm not going to rally by noon.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking?
Chicken broth isn't going to fix this one this time. So
God.
yeah, so that was
you
Christmas.
Yeah, man. I mean, you end up in the hospital. And how long were you in the hospital?
I think just under 2 weeks. But I went in and they did scans and everything, and they rushed me right into surgery that day. So, but when I got out of surgery, I, still you don't want to break that momentum.
Start taking
I was
pictures,
high
right?
on a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of morphine and whatever else they were giving me, and really felt kind of okay.
Yeah.
In comparison to the pain I felt before surgery, this was a walk in the park.
Yeah.
So I was certain on December 24th, I think, 25th, right around Christmas, that I was doing my New Year's Eve gig. I'm like, you know what? I got a week. I could do this. Couldn't walk. Couldn't get out of bed, but I'm going to be on stage for New Year's Eve. So we're sick.
That's some serious drugs you were on.
Super jazzy. It's super jazzy.
Man,
But yeah,
oh,
we're
man.
sick. We're addicted to this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Well, and you have had so much momentum leading into that point that, I mean, all of us looking at the 30,000 foot thing are like, what are you talking about, man? It's
Yeah.
not like you're not going to have this happening. Go take care of yourself. But I know as an artist, you're like pushing ahead, right?
Yeah, and you just don't want to stop.
Yeah, right.
Because you realize how long it takes to build any sort of momentum, and of course, you worry about money, you worry about a lot of things, and you don't want to let people down. People had purchased tickets to things.
Sure.
And looking back, it's all foolish because I don't think there's anybody who would want you to risk your health for all those things, but
No,
you
you're
get
not
caught up.
you don't think that way.
Yeah,
You're
you
not
get caught
thinking
up in
way.
that. So
Yeah, you're not thinking that way. So now you got out of the hospital, rehabilitated yourself, and you're getting back up. And then you did, let's just recap a little bit. You had a great, well, I shouldn't say you, right? The Jazz Showcase, and numerous friends put together an incredible concert at the Jazz Showcase.
yeah, between Wayne Siegel, who approached us about it, and I had initially said no. They approached me and they said, Wayne wants to do a benefit night for you, and I thought. I had lost some other friends, and I have other friends that are dealing with terminal illnesses, and I thought, I'm going to be okay.
Right.
This was awful, but I'm going to be okay. There's light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah.
And I felt embarrassed. I felt there's other people who are worse off, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to kind of shine a light on all of that, but wiser friends and wiser minds kind of pointed me in the right direction, and we thought it was a good thing to do. And Ben Lewis, actually, I have to mention Ben.
Yeah.
We know Ben went through
Sure.
was about 2 years ago. He went through
Yeah.
his health scare where he had fallen
Yep.
and broke, I think, just about everything
Yeah,
he can break, and concussion and all that. But Ben contacted me rather quickly after he had heard, and he talked me through the stages of recovery and what you were going to experience from people. And when he first said them, I didn't understand a lot of what he was saying. And then when I hit that stage, I'm like, oh, you feel guilty, and you feel embarrassed, and you
Yeah.
feel like you just didn't want, even as a performer, you're used to getting attention. It's attention that you control.
Right.
You control when
Right.
you're performing. You control having it when you're sick and feeling very vulnerable and weak. It was different for me. It
Yeah.
was a side that I wasn't necessarily quite comfortable with. And you're basically admitting to people, yeah, this career isn't as financially stable as you may think. All of you people who think jazz musicians make a lot of money.
Right.
Here, I'm going to be the one to tell you that's not true. So it's
news flash. Thanks, Paul.
newsflash.
Thanks, Paul.
It's basically admitting that, yeah, things are tough.
Well, and also I think that, when you go through something like what you went through, you just really probably want to just try to move on from it, right?
Absolutely.
And you don't want to have to dwell. And then it probably gets to a point where everybody's only talking to you about that.
Yeah.
And now you're kind of being defined as that. Now they want to do a huge thing for you. I'm
Well,
sure,
and I was saying Wayne Siegel and Celine Peterson, a very good friend, and Rose Colella kind of spearheaded that and took over. I obviously wasn't going to be the person putting
Sure,
everything
right,
together for various reasons. And at first we didn't know whether or not I would be able to be there. But I can say about that night that I'll never forget it. It was just something I've never experienced before. Everybody should have that chance to. It was almost, you hate to say it, but it was almost like being at your own
funeral. Right? Yeah, right.
But just, in this career, we always kind of reconfigure what we use to measure about, are we making any difference? Is this worth it? Or, all of the work, what it takes to do
Yep.
this for a living. There's so many different ways that we can ask, is this worth it? Have we made a mark? Have we done anything? Is what I do valuable to anyone? Something like this, when you see the community pull together the way they did, I guess I could say speechless. I don't want to be cliche about it, but I really was.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say. Thank you seemed so incredibly insignificant.
Yeah. I
But,
think the one thing that you said, though, and if you get a chance, go back and read some of Paul's Facebook posts, because they're like really eloquently written, and straight from the heart. But I think one of the things you did say is that you want to pay it forward at some point, right? I mean,
that's Ben Lewis.
Okay.
That was one of the things I talked about with Ben. He had approached, as many did, and he said, "Is there anything I can do?" And that, of course, when somebody's sick or when somebody passes away, that's just what you say. What can
Right.
I do? How can I help? If you need something, which unfortunately sounds cliche. It sounds as if that's what you're supposed to say.
Right.
And Ben said, really, I would love to help if something comes up. He said, you'd actually be doing me a favor. And I didn't quite understand that. And he said, because so many people reached out when I was sick and when I needed help, that you would be giving me a great opportunity because I'm waiting to pay it forward, and this would be my chance.
Yeah.
And he reminded me, he said, there's probably many people who feel the same, who you may have helped after they broke up with someone when they sat at the bar and listened to you sing. It might have been the place where they kind of healed a little bit, or you don't know how many lonely nights you helped, that older woman who sits alone, or you don't know,
Right.
and people want to help. And I started feeling a little bit better about being public about it all. But
Sure.
yeah, you really do. You can't pay it back. You can't find the words or any way to repay everyone's generosity. But you hope that there's an opportunity where you can demonstrate it and pay it forward.
Well, I think having that self-awareness too probably helps you put all this into perspective, right? I mean, just understanding, okay, obviously you're not going to be able to pay everybody back, but just with that one thought, that's going to push you forward and get you probably on a good
absolutely.
plane, right?
And I think if I could sum it all up, what I felt that night at the showcase with, colleagues of mine who I remember when I first got to town, some of the musicians I was in awe of and thought, well, I would love to work with them someday. And now, 15 years later, they're on stage, donating their time and talents for my benefit was really remarkable. And I guess the thing that pops to mind was I must be doing something right. I must be doing something right that this could happen. The cherry on top of that Sunday was when they approached me about the format and who I might like to be there, who they think they should ask. I mean, there were so many names and so many friends, and unfortunately there's only so much time in a night. And I didn't want it to be kind of a cattle call where you're rushing people on and off.
Right.
I wanted it to be something that the audience could enjoy. And so we whittled it down, and then they felt we should have somebody of a bigger stature, bigger name. And a few people, I won't say who, but we had a few people on to fit that bill, and for scheduling reasons they couldn't come to town, but bigger names, national. And then Celine said, what about Sheila Jordan? You just did that concert at the Jazz Fest with her.
Which you were sick at, you told me before we came on. So he was suffering from that night, and you killed it.
Yeah, and thinking back, that's really scary, because to have missed that opportunity, or to have the chance to miss that opportunity, it's like, I'm glad this has been taken care of. But Celine thought, what if we contact Sheila? And I said, she lives in New York. She's still traveling the world, but she's not necessarily a spring chicken.
Right.
And I said, you know what? You have my blessing. You can contact her. I said, but just know that it'll be the most polite and gracious no that you'll get. I said, but sure. Literally within 5 minutes, Sheila emailed back and didn't ask for details, didn't ask for anything. She said, I'll be there. And
wow.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
And she just killed it. Everybody did. But to be 89 years old and to be able to walk into a packed room and on stage at the end of a long concert and just kind of kill it. And just everybody was in the palm of her hand.
Yeah.
And she just has this, beautiful spirit about her.
Yeah.
So.
After the mill, right, you've got another performance. You're going to do the CJO. And you're doing a tribute to Frank Sinatra Live at the Sands, one of my favorite albums of all time. I'm sure same thing with you, right?
It's if you're gonna have one live album, that's the one.
That is it, right? That is it. So that's at the Studebaker, and then you go back in and you're gonna get this whole thing finalized, correct?
Yes, that's the plan.
This is gonna be it then.
I talked to my surgeon about scheduling. I said, it's difficult as a musician to have this kind of open-ended, when I'm going to be available, when I'm not. I said, I can't just pop back onto the scene and have work. You need to kind of plan ahead. So that's been difficult. The thing at the Mill is my only club date. I'm not doing anything else for the rest of April. And I literally told my surgeon, this concert at the Studebaker, is it the 12th or 14th? No, I'm second guessing. It's a Saturday
12th.
night.
It's the 12th.
Yeah. I told him, I said, this is on the calendar. I can't miss this. I said, so any scheduling has to happen after that.
Yeah.
And he agreed. And he said, there's no reason that you can't do that concert. But
And he wanted you to take a little bit more time anyway, so it kind of worked out that
as he
you
put
didn't
it,
have to push it, right?
As he put it, he was in no rush to see my insides again.
Well,
his
it's
words.
the only way a surgeon can say it.
Exactly.
That means he wants to wait.
Yeah. So he's fine with that.
Yeah.
But it does take me off the scene again for a little while. But
Well, but then you should be back, and you should be better
I should
than
be
ever.
better than ever. These instances should be done.
And then you've got, after that, then you're back, and July 19th, and of course we're going to talk about this as we get closer anyways. It's not like the last time I'm ever going to see Paul before this. But
this hasn't been announced yet, so you're the first person to announce.
well, we've got two shows that haven't been announced, I think, right? So we've got the birthday celebration, Paul's birthday celebration, July 19th at Studio 5, Steve Rasheed's great place up in Evanston.
Absolutely.
And then the bigger news, I guess, you're going to be back at Birdland July 22nd.
New York City.
So you are coming back, and it's not exactly like you're coming back, going to creep back on the scene maybe here or there. You're like doing a birthday celebration July 19th, Studio 5, and then, hey, I don't know, let's go play Birdland.
Let's do Birdland.
Yeah, why not? Okay, cool. What I want to know is what's going to happen after that, because everything else is going to be a letdown, right? Now what are you going to do?
We're gonna keep going. I have
kidding.
some things that no more surgery.
No.
No
Yes.
more surgery. I like the fact that it's iffy. It's a little iffy as far as when I'm going to feel up to performing
Right.
again. There's the weight loss thing. With the first surgery, I lost 30 pounds, which
That's a lot of weight, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff
on a
that
6'4" frame, and it's all of the muscle. None of the fat
Really?
disappears. All the muscle. It's just gone. So I'm about 15 pounds back from that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much I'm going to lose after the second, but I really am consciously planning things so that I know I have a goal.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be fine.
Isn't that part of the thing, though? I mean, talking about goals and stuff, that probably, I can't imagine you're lying in bed in the hospital initially, right after all this stuff went down. You don't really know what's going on. I mean, maybe they had ideas and stuff, but you didn't really know how close you were to not being around maybe when you first came out, right?
No, I didn't.
And, and you're like in limbo at that point. So it's probably good for you to kind of think, okay, 2 weeks from now, I'm going to get out. Another 2 weeks, I'm getting
Absolutely.
out here and stuff. I mean, that kind of keeps you going, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this gives me enough time, and they're great events. I love working at Studio 5. It'll be a nice concert event. Ben Patterson's going to be in town. Don't forget, Ben. Write it down. Then he's going to go back to New York City to play Birdland with me. So Ben will be there at Studio 5 on the 19th. Andy Brown has agreed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
He's dropping his amp off early because he's got like 3 gigs before.
Of course
that.
he does.
Yeah,
Of course
so.
he does. The best T-shirt I ever saw. He comes up to me at the Jazz Fest. Andy Brown says, "Jazz ruined my life." I'm like, that's like the greatest T-shirt ever. I digress.
He has another one that says super jazzy. That's
really?
his phrase, yeah, super jazzy.
All right, so Paul, all the information at paulmarinaro.com. Anything we want to mention about the GoFundMe thing? Is that campaign still going? I know you don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to make you.
It is still going, and
Can I get to that off your website?
It's on there somewhere, yeah.
Okay.
It's just basically my name after the GoFundMe website. That has been remarkable. I don't know what else I can say about that. Again, thank you is insignificant. It really is. It will keep me alive.
Yeah.
With being out of work as long as I have been, and with the medical bills and all that. Well, that's already sorted out.
Well, and I don't think people understand about medical bills. That I mean, they start accumulating, man, and they don't stop.
They don't stop, and they want it fast.
Yeah.
The phone calls start very quickly.
Yep. Yeah.
But
so
that is
it's very important, though, and I think that everybody that's watching this, everybody on the entire jazz community and all that stuff, are just happy that you're up, moving. And when you said you'd come down here, I was like, oh, all
Yeah,
right. I
yeah,
guess he's moving around. This is great.
I was really anxious to get moving, even in the hospital. I couldn't. That was the worst part of it. The standing still and just not doing anything was very difficult for me. So moving around is good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, all right. So everybody's going to see you Monday, April 2nd at the Mill.
Get there early.
And they're going to get all the information on everything else Paul has going on, including the GoFundMe and all the other good stuff at paulmarinaro.com. Paul, thanks for coming in. It's great
Thanks,
to
buddy.
see you, man.
And episode 100.
Episode
We get
100
a tour of this mysterious place.
coming up fast. Stick around for more details. And of course, as I always end this whole thing, if I don't see you Monday at the Green Mill, hopefully I will see you somewhere out on the sea.